Hello. Well, I've just had a funeral come in and I've read a few emails regarding funerals, and so I thought it would be good to make this video so that we know what we're doing and you know what's important to me and all the rest of it, okay? So here goes. Firstly, I've known funerals be done in different ways in terms of organisation in the parish, and they've all worked absolutely fine. So there is one sense that you can do it different ways. What is mega, mega, mega important is that everyone is super, super clear. Okay. Oh, by the way, this video is specifically to Hazel, because I've been told she is the funeral verger. It's to Kent because he's the church warden and I believe he does some finances at the moment towards it. And to Zona because I believe that she helps with funerals at the moment. Okay. But I'm also copying in some other people so that we're all, if you like, singing from the same hymn sheet. So here goes. Okay. Point number one is that funerals are normally relatively simple. They should be relatively simple. So they're not like weddings. Weddings are relatively complicated and include legal stuff, which funerals don't. So that's point number one. Point number two, which is really important, is that funerals have a very tight deadline. So if stuff comes up about funerals, you need to deal with it straight away, because if you leave it for a couple of days, you're passing stress onto other people. It's a ball that needs to be played really, really fast. And that's just the best all round. Okay. So let's go to the funeral verger's job. Well, the funeral verger's job is basically to be the one that knows what's going on and the one that has the ability to deal with situations, because if there is anything that happens, then it's the funeral verger's job to sort that out, to make sure it goes smoothly. So some funeral vergers do the technical stuff. If they don't do the technical stuff, they need to be able to make sure the technical stuff happens without any hitches, for instance, as best as can be achieved. All right, funeral vergers organise people, so they get people involved as need be. Helpers, for instance, they normally open up the church, close the church afterwards and all that. And it really helps for funeral vergers and helpers if they realise how important funerals are and how they're to be within them. So in other words, they don't say, shall we say, awkward things, because people that are in deep grief can take exception very, very quickly. While I'm on that, something else generally about funerals, of course, is that though they are simple, if something goes wrong, then it's normally taken very, very badly. So they're simple, but there's pressure in that sense. Whereas weddings are very, very complicated, or they can be very, very complicated. But if something goes wrong, people are normally, not always, but normally in a good frame of mind and take it quite easily, quite a lot better. Okay, so that's really important, I think, to know that. So, this video is of course being copied to some other people. I'll copy it to Lilburn and to Yelvertoft to be helpful there. Let's go to finances. what does the treasurer need? Well, the treasurer needs to know basically what's going on financially. They need to be able to pay people quickly. So, for instance, if it's the treasurer that pays the organist, for instance, and it's good not to keep the organist waiting. So things like that are important. It's the treasurer's responsibility to do those payments. It's the treasurer's responsibility to know what's, if you like, what money is expected to come in. Okay, so that's quite important. And also, of course, to know who is being buried or cremated, and what bills they have to pay, that kind of thing. Remember that it's the treasurer that pays the diocese a proportion of the fee as well. By the way, what I will do is, regarding my expenses for funerals, I will charge any of my expenses for funerals on my normal expenses claim and not to the funeral director. So if there are any extra charges for me, for instance, travel to and from a crematorium, then the funeral director will need to pay that extra. They will need to be charged extra. Okay, so whoever deals with, and it may not be the treasurer, I think at the moment Kent does it, whoever deals with the funeral director will need to make it clear to them that here's the charges, ding, 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 and one of them may be expenses for the clergy. Otherwise, the church will end up footing an unreasonable expenses bill for funerals from me, which is not good. Okay. Where shall we go to next? Okay, now something that's the responsibility of the PCC is to decide how much money to charge for things. That's not the treasurer's responsibility or the vicar's responsibility. So, for instance, how much to charge for the organist, how much to charge for the verger, how much to charge for bells if there are bells, and things like that, so that the funeral director gets the correct bill. The funeral director knows what to pay. Super duper. Okay, so what I advise is that conversation takes place, probably on Zoom or face to face, with Hazel, with Kent, and with Zona, to get clarity about who is doing what, what's expected of what. Remembering that people like the treasurer and the funeral directors and myself need to know certain information, as it were, so we're the other parties involved. Now, let me go on to what happens normally. Normally, I should be the first one notified of a possible funeral, though I might not be. So this is where you get what I expect and what I want. So what happens is that I will get a call, normally from either the family or the funeral director, with some details. I will then normally pass that information to the verger, and I will arrange, so they'll get that information straight away, as they have for the recent funeral. Then I will make an appointment to see the family. And when I see the family, we will get more information because they have certain choices to make. And when I get that information, then I will copy in the verger. And so the verger will know everything in very good time. or when I say in very good time, as much time as I can give, right? Very often I will do a draft order of service, and then that will be given to the funeral directors, who will compose a prettified version of it. So the verger will have that early copy, shall we say. Okay, I think that's enough for now, and I hope it's helpful. But like I say, it is normally pretty simple. Remember that at every funeral there is normally at least one person for whom it may be the very saddest day of their life. And so it's important that whoever's there, normally the helper and the verger, for instance, that they have that measure of emotional intelligence. God bless.